Testing, testing. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Fred, yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah, Fred, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Aline, yeah, please confirm in the chat if you can hear me. Let's wait a few minutes because people were in the other talk. If you have any problems with the web version, you can also watch in the Zone app. It's going to be the same, so don't worry about it. I'm not going to be able to see questions during my talk, but I'll try to have a few minutes in the end to answer the questions, okay? So you can post during the talk. I'm going to wait 1 more minute and then we can start. Oops, my t-shirt's my team, Palmeiras, the best Brazilian team ever. My wife here just said, because she doesn't support Palmeiras. She supports Santos, the last team. Okay, let me just fix the camera a little bit and share my screen. Can you see my presentation, right? Okay, now I can't see the chat anymore, so I'm going to probably ignore any questions from now on, and let's get started here. So today I want to talk a little bit about like back to the roots and what are the roots of Meteor and why are you here? So it's going to be a little bit different, I think, than last time. It was going to be more like philosophical and strategic than like code, but I also have some technical things to share. So I think you're going to enjoy anyway. Okay, why do we love Meteor? People that know me for a long time already, they know I love this concept of why you do what you do. So for me, it's important to remember like, why do we love Meteor? Like why we are here spending our time in hearing to like a random guy from Brazil to talk. So first, at least for me, like because Meteor empowers us to deliver apps focusing on our features. So it's really nice to develop app with Meteors because I don't need to worry too much about other things than my own features that I want to deliver. And also because humans, they love freedom. And developers, we don't seem like human, but in the end, we are humans, right? So we like to have the freedom and to make choices. And Meteor provides this as well. So Meteor provides us a lot of features, but Meteor is not limiting our choices, or Meteor is not like making these choices for us. And it's okay. Like we have other platforms that we already need to accept a lot of choices, but that's not the case with Meteor. So if you like freedom, that's probably why we also love Meteor. And how Meteor like offers that, like how Meteor accomplish what I just said, that's why we love Meteor. Like first, we have many front-end libraries, so we don't need to choose like between React or Vue or React and Svelte or React or Blaze. Like you can just choose the one that you prefer, and Meteor is going to do the best to support this front-end library as well. We can use any back-end library, so we are not attached to, oh, I need to use GraphQL all the time. I need to use like REST all the time. You can mix, like you can use like Express with REST APIs inside a Meteor app. You can also use Apollo with GraphQL. You can also use Relay. You can also use Meteor methods, publications. So like we have a lot of options, and that's pretty cool because you can accommodate your needs. And as I said, this talk is not a very technical talk, but if you want to check one example of an app like using all these combinations together, that was my talk last year. So I show an app that's called BMark, where we are using like everything together in the same Meteor app in a very nice way. So you should check the last talk from last year. We also provide like Babel integration, so you can customize even the compilation. Like if you want to use like a experimental feature from Babel plugins, you can already do that in your code without any problems. It's very simple to start a new project. So we just use like Meteor Create and we are ready. Like I do this every week, and it's really nice how easy it is to start. And you can even choose different frameworks to start because we have a few options for you. You don't need to configure anything. So it's really nice as well. It's very hard that you need, to start, I need to configure these 3-4 files. Like that's not the case usually. We also have something that for Meteor communities like take for granted, but it's not for free in other platforms, that we already have like the backend and the front end together. So it's really easy to connect both sides. And it's really easy to add new features. You can add new features by adding packages, or you can just add new code. And as I said, you don't need to worry too much about configurations. So most of the features, you are going to just spend the time necessary to build the features. Like even TypeScript, if you like TypeScript, you just add a package and then you can use TypeScript, like very easy. And that all together, in my view, it reduces the maintenance cost that you have in Meteor apps, because you have like everything in the same place. You don't have a lot of configurations to keep. So it's very easy to improve and to grow your project. And I want to provide just a few examples here, like just if you are new to Meteor and you don't see the options, maybe that could help you to understand a little bit better. So if you want to create like an education platform, like I am creating an education platform at the moment. So you can have the registration process very simple with accounts. We can get your content using subscriptions if you want like live data, or methods if you just want to fetch the data when you call, and not like all the time that the data is changed in the backend. You can also implement like comments and interactions very easily with subscriptions. And you're going to see in the award ceremony, like 2 hours from now, in the hackathon, that people were able to build like cool systems in like 5 days, 4 days. And I don't think they were like full time in this project. So in a few days, you can have like these systems built from the ground. And also we can deploy very easily. And we are going to talk more about deploy really soon in this talk. If you want to create another example, like a social platform, also, again, it's very easy to connect like social authentications with Meteor. We also provide like a lot of, like for me, the best way to have real-time communication using subscriptions. You have the email package that is really easy to send email notifications. You can also, of course, deploy very simple. And the last example, like if you even want to create a native app, but you don't want to use Kotlin or you don't want to use Swift, you can also use Meteor. So we have integrations with Cordova, we have integrations with React Native. They are all documented, they are all supported. You can also have packages to enable you to send push notifications. And of course, all the other options are still going to work with a native application. And you also have a very easy deploy. But that was just like a recap like of Meteor and what you can do with Meteor. But how could this be even better? So like that's the idea here. Like how could we bring back like the magic that Meteor still has, but I think it was more pronounced like a few years ago. Like how can this be even better? But I didn't present myself. So I am Filipe Névola. I am actually now the Meteor CEO. I was previously working with Java a lot. Then I decided to migrate to JavaScript, and I'm already using JavaScript for many years. So I have production apps with Meteor like since 2013. So like 80 years already working with Meteor in production, like not just studying it, but really developing apps and having commercial apps with Meteor. When Tiny acquired Meteor, you probably know that, I started to work for Meteor as an advocate, as an evangelist in the end of 2019. And after that, I was promoted to the role of CTO, and now I am the CEO of Meteor starting April this year. So you have here, like in this CEO position, somebody that really loves Meteor and work with Meteor like for many years. So you can really like reach me out if you have problems, if you have concerns. So I'm here to help. And I still have commercial apps with Meteor. So I am like in both sides. I'm working for Meteor, but I also am a client of Meteor. So I think I am in a unique spot here because I can see both sides. Of course, as I am inside, maybe it's hard to see as a community member sees, but I can see a little bit at least. So what I mean, like by going back to our roots, like what are our roots? So what was and what is still is the Meteor magic. Like, and again, I'm going to provide my vision here. So one thing that I really like about Meteor are plug and play packages. We know we can implement many features using NPM packages, but not all, because we have some special features in Meteor packages that are hard to achieve with NPM packages. We also have like up-to-date integrations. So I don't need to worry too much about like, oh, is this going to work with the newest Android? You're going to talk about this later as well. So you have these integrations always available for you, and we try to keep all of them up to date, what is a very hard job, as you can imagine. We have a lot of nice ideas in Meteor packages. So like the DDP, I think is the best example, like it's the core of Meteor if you are using the DDP layer with methods and publications. But you have like accounts, that is also a very nice idea. And you have a lot of other packs that are really cool, like dynamic imports in Meteor is also a very nice idea in a different way from the rest of the JavaScript community. So you have a lot of like benefits from using Meteor, and that's the magic. We also have a very easy way to deploy. So if you are coming from another like environment like Java or even others, like it's very hard to deploy an app, like you need to think a lot. And even if you're using JavaScript, if you want to connect all the pieces like the front end, the back end, like today we have a few technologies that are easy as well, but you need to make a lot of choice before you really understand the framework. You already like it's attached with React, or you're attached a specific way to render your app. And in Meteor, you don't have this. And even with all this freedom, we still have a very easy way to deploy. So if I would like try to summarize this idea in a single sentence, I would say that my vision for the future of Meteor is to have less code and to have more power. Like initially, I was even thinking about the concept of low code, but I don't know if you are going to go that far, because low code like means that you have like some UI that you can just drag and drop and click. But I think that could be our end goal, but maybe don't need to get there. So the idea here is like we are moving to this direction, or we already are in this direction, but I think this direction was not very clear. So we are already doing this, and I'm going to show a few bits of this movement to have less code and to provide even more power. So that's the vision that we have for Meteor. And maybe one day you can have like a wizard where you can generate an app with a lot of features. I don't know if you're going to get there or not, because we are a community. So we listen a lot from our community. Maybe the community doesn't want that. But if the community wants that, I think the Meteor is the perfect tool to provide a lot of freedom and a lot of power without a lot of code. And that's not because I don't like to code, because I love to code. If I could, I would just code every time. But I think code is unnecessary in many cases, that you have better solutions using packages or other ways. And that's why we are here to try to come up with better ways to develop our apps. But how can you get there? So I'm saying like we have like a kind of a low code approach here. Like we have not a lot of code, for example, in accounts, but you still have a lot of repetitive tasks that you need to do. And one of these tasks is to deploy. Because when you think about deploy with Meteor, it's basically like Meteor deploy and a few flags that you need to provide. And that's all that you need to do. But even that, we have a challenge here, because you need to have a machine. So in my commercial project that I have, I need to run a Jenkins, and then this Jenkins, I need to send like the data to Galaxy, or like you have Scott Stolinsky tutorial, how to connect like Galaxy deploy with GitHub Actions, but you need to do this integration, you need to configure a lot of things. And I think that's not ideal. So we are thinking a lot about a new way to deploy apps to Galaxy. And here today I'm introducing like push to deploy. So as you would expect from a service like nowadays, you don't need to run the deploy in your machines anymore. So Meteor Cloud now provides machines for you, so you can just use your GitHub repository to deploy your apps. So there are two simple steps. First, you connect your GitHub repository, and then you select the branch, the plan, the container size, and your settings, and you're ready to go. So today we are announcing this feature that's pretty cool. Like you can use like very easily, you can deploy new apps to the cloud using this, or you can also change existing apps that you have. And you have like thousands of apps on Galaxy. And I think most of them are going to change to this deploy way, because in my opinion, it's so much better that you don't need to worry about what's running to deploy your apps when you make changes. And that's it. Like you can deploy with these two steps. Sorry, I think I didn't provide the correct slide. And also another good news is that it's also available for free apps. And in the last survey, like a few people were asking for free deploys, but we already have free deploys available since the last impact. So if you are not aware of that, you can run your apps for free. We have a few restrictions there, but in general, like your hobbies apps or your demo apps, they can run for free. And now they can run for free with deploys like from the cloud. And I would like to show you a short video. It's not that short. Maybe I will skip a few parts, but I'm like to show you this video. So I'm going to create like a new account here. I just recorded this video like 30 minutes ago. So you can go to meteor.com. You can sign up for a new account. And we are not going to ask the credit card for the free plan. So you can just follow like with your username, your email, and your password. You are creating like a Meteor Cloud account. That is the previous like MDG account, I think was the name. So you have your panel here. You have a few instructions like how to install Meteor, how to create an app, and how to deploy using like Meteor Cloud. So you don't need to run the deploy in your machine. So we are still finalizing everything. We are still in beta, but that's a preview of the UI. So you create in the add button, then you authenticate to your GitHub. Of course, you are going to put our icon in the GitHub application. And I need to use my two-factor authentication here. And now I have access to my account. I can select my organization here. In this case, I'm going to select Meteor Compact. That is something that I'm going to also talk about in this call. And I have a very simple example that's called user account score. So you can show like user accounts. That is a patch from the community that is working. I'm going to update to Meteor 2.5 here. And this is also going to talk in this call, but I'm using Meteor 2.5 already. If you want to use Essentials or Professionals, you can add your credit card, but that's not required. Meteor Free account has some limitations, like you can just run a free container of tiny size. I'm going to select my domain. Free accounts also, you need to also use the suffix meteorapp.com. So I select the demo. That is the branch that I just showed you, where I update to Meteor.5. We also have a free MongoDB included, not for production, but you can use for your small projects. And you can configure a few things here, like your pre-deploy command, if you want to test something, or if you want to run something like initialize your submodules or whatever. You can also have configurations here. That's going to be the Meteor settings. So you can put like, oh, run the cron, true or false. So that's a regular Meteor settings that you can apply here. And then, oh, I think the bar here is covering it, but we click in the deploy button. And now you can see what is happening on Galaxy. And as always on Galaxy, you have the logs tabs, so you can see everything that is going on. And I will try to explain here, like step by step, what is going on. So first, Galaxy is getting our base image. That is also a public base image with like some Meteor already installed and Node already like set up, everything working for you. And then we are going to go to your commands, and we are going to go to the folder that you specify as the root folder, and we are going to install npm. You can change these commands as well. And that is working. So we are going to deploy. Like we are going to use the same Meteor deploy command that you have, but you are going to use inside our machine. So you don't need to run in your machine. And that's going to deploy your app. If your app is huge, maybe it's going to take a few minutes. If your app is small, it's going to take a few seconds. So it depends on your app size as usual. And we are also going to prepare to upload your app as we do in the regular Meteor deploy command from your machine. And then the actual deploy starts. And then you have like the final build process on Galaxy. And then we push the Docker image to our AWS ECS clusters. And then this cluster is going to start pretty soon a container. Yeah, you can see the container is starting up. And then you have your app running. And I think I'm going to open the app for you, so you can see the app is really running. And now if you need to make a change, that's the cool part for me. You can just go to GitHub. So I think I'm going to do that. I just recorded the video, but I'm not sure what steps I did. But I think we are going to go to Meteor Compact organization, and then I'm going to make a change. And when I push this change, in this case, I'm going to make like a very simple change just on a file. So I'm going to do straight on GitHub, but of course you can do in your machine and push later. And I'm going to change the title, I believe. Yes, the heading, like Meteor updated. So you can commit your change. In this case, it's already a push because it's directly on GitHub UI. And you can see like the code of the commit, like 3F to 26. And you can see the same commit already on the dashboard, 3F26. and then the same process is going to happen again. Like Meteor is going to, the cloud is going to download your code, it's going to build your code, and it's going to deploy your code. So you don't need to touch your machine. You just need to apply change to a GitHub repository. So that's a small demo. We are, of course, we are going to add more features, and we have a lot of ideas how to make this experience even better. But it's that simple. Like I just did the whole process from the beginning to start in this video, and even apply a new change. So it's very, very simple to do. And this feature is currently in beta. Like, as you can imagine, like you have thousands of clients, so you need to have a beta. So you make sure like everything is working properly, that we are scaling our machines properly. We are not causing like long queues. But if you want to be included in this beta, just please send an email to us. So we are going to analyze and we are going to approve like by batch. So we can measure the usage of our machines and if they are with the correct scale for everybody. But feel free to send us an email. You don't need to be a client already. Like if you just want to try Galaxy and you want to be part of this beta, just send us an email and we are going to reply to you once we are ready to add you to our beta program. But we are really excited about it. We are already using this feature to deploy our own apps. For example, the cloud itself is already deployed using the push deploy. So it's really cool that you don't need to deploy cloud using any other machine anymore. We just like push commits to a specific branch, and you're going to come up with like better way to use this, like how to organize your user flow. So we are going to discuss and learn together, and we are going to provide documentation about all that in the next week. Okay, but we already can use this like probably next week if you email us, and we are going to approve in batches. So I was talking about like try to simplify things, like try to have less code. And I think this is one step. Like, for example, I use Jenkins, configuring Jenkins with code. So I don't need to configure Jenkins anymore. So that's cool. But deploy is not everything. So how we get there? Again, like always this question, right? We are going to a place. We are going to a place with less code. So how can we get there? So the world has changed like a lot in the last years, like especially with the pandemic, like many features are different now. Like you have video calls everywhere, you have like simple authentication everywhere. So we need to also improve our packages and the way that we work with Meteor. So new packages are necessary. So we know that. And I don't know if you realize, but we are starting to create new core packages, and that's going to continue. So that's a very important news. But the community also should create new packages. I'm going to provide a few examples here. Like improvements in existing packages are also necessary. Like you need to adapt to the new change. Like you had the problem, for example, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago about the Let's Encrypt root certificate. So you should be able to update your Meteor app and you should be able to use without problems with certificates. And we are prepared for that, but you need to also update your apps and update your packages. So that's also important to keep updating the existing packages. And another point that's not very important for a few like platforms, but for us, it's really, really important is backward compatibility. So we have thousands of clients that rely on us, and you don't want to break things when you don't need to break things. So this is really important because for me, Meteor is about business. So like Meteor is really cool to play around, but you have a lot of companies building with Meteor. So Meteor Cloud is growing like since the acquisitions like 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago. Meteor Cloud is always growing. Like we are growing in our platform. You have more apps running, you have more like containers running. So backward compatibility is really, really important for us. So we want to keep this as much as possible to continue to have like a good environment for everybody, even the early clients. We have a lot of clients that are using Meteor before the Meteor 1.1 and 1.0, and they don't need to migrate a lot of stuff. So we like this. We think this is really important to support the business that are using Meteor. So to discuss better and to introduce better like new ideas, new packages, like backward compatibility needs, a few months ago, we started to use Meteor discussions on GitHub. So if you go to the main GitHub repo, we have discussions there now, and you should engage in these discussions because we are there. So Meteor, like core members, we are there discussing with you like every day. We try to check the discussions, and we are engaging in all discussions. Because the idea here is to provide like validations or different ideas for your like initial ideas so we can improve as a community. So if you have an idea, like a new package idea, you should put there And you can read more about this in the announcement. And I have the links on my slide. And we are already collecting the first results. And just one thing that I would like to highlight as well, we are also centralized a bunch of repos inside the Meteor main repo. So if you see Babel, Promise, like Meteor node stubs, that there are a lot of packages, the NPM packages that are spread across multiple repositories on GitHub, and they are all now in the same repo. And that also includes the documents and the guide. So that's going to be easier for everybody to contribute, because usually when you develop a feature, you need to like create the package PR, the docs PR in another repository. And that was a lot of work to coordinate this. And many users, they didn't know where the docs are or where the guide were. So now they are all in the same place. So that's also going to make easier our life. So we have discussions, you have docs, you have guide, you have NPM packs, everything in the same repository. So it's already implemented. So you can check the repository and you can see now that we have more folders there. And that's why you should try to centralize better this work. But let's provide a few examples of the topics that I said before, like the 3 topics, like new packages, update existing packages, and backward compatibility. So the first topic was like new packages. So one needs that we see, and this is started by a discussion. If you see this link, there is a discussion there talking about passwordless sign-in. So we have a package that is available now in Meteor 2.5, where you can have very easily like a sign-in with just like a few lines of code. And if you're using React, for example, I created a package that's called passwordless React, that you can use this with one line of code. Like it's really one line of code that you just add one component to our authentication page, and that's going to work. Like your user is going to receive a code and it can authenticate without any other configurations on your side. Of course, you can customize the email. You can put a email provider, a different email provider. There is also another package if you want to replace your email provider. And I'm going to talk about this in a second. We are also another package that we are finishing. We're probably going to finish next week. We had a live about this, so you can watch the live from, I think, 2 weeks ago, where you show how to create a passwordless integration with Twilio using SMS or text message for Americans. Like they correct us in the last live because you are saying SMS, and Americans, they say text message. So you can also understand how you can use like passwordless with SMS. And these are just examples. Like you should join the discussions so you can bring up more ideas, more nice ideas for us to implement as Meteor packages. Some cases going to be community, like this one is community, but this one is in the core. So usually put in the core, like the main feature, and the features around it or the integrations with specific frameworks, we put in community packages. We also need to improve the existing package. So you have done a lot of accounts improvements and trying to make easier or try to make like less code required to configure your account. So you should check these improvements as well. We also have made the same work in the email. So the email package, almost everybody is using it, but it was hard to replace the main provider in your email package. Now it's very easy. And we also have like a package for replace the full email provider with Postmark. So you can play around with these new packages as well. We also have like a lot of improvements that Kevin mentioned in the last call, in the call yesterday, in the talk. Like we have new hooks, like use subscribe, use find, use a Meteor state, use user. We also have new updates for Vue integration with Vue 3.0. So we have a lot of things going on, like a lot of packages being improved to make it easier for you to develop your apps with Meteor. So the last point was about backward compatibility. So like Meteor is around for almost 10 years, like next year is our 10th anniversary, and you have more years to come. So we care very deeply about our users and our clients, and this is why we avoid breaking things as much as possible. We know people rely on Meteor to build business, as I already said, and we are very proud of that because we can run business without breaking everything all the time. That's really bad for companies. So because of that, we had to do a few major upgrades in packages like accounts and less packaging. And a few people were affected by this really hard because they depend on a lot of packages that are not maintained anymore. So we are starting a new thing inside Meteor that's called Meteor Compat packages. And that was the example that I deployed. It was one of the examples from the Meteor Compact packages. So if you need to have like some upgrade in a patch that is using accounts base, for example, so you can request. And in this link, you have the instructions. But again, it's using the GitHub discussion, and you can ask, and you can see how popular these packages are, if it's worth to have a compatibility version or not. So again, we are trying to avoid people getting behind versions, because we have a lot of new features to add, and it's important to have everybody in the newest version of Meteor. So that's why you're doing this work, to keep everybody running latest Meteor as soon as possible. Okay, but what do you need here? Like I already show a few results, but you need more discussions. So if you have ideas, and if you're not aware that GitHub discussions was working inside Meteor main repository, you should check GitHub discussions, and you should engage there. We should talk about the ideas that you have. And they are very open discussions. Like we are not saying what's wrong or what's right. We are just discussing, like you're just talking about your ideas. And you can see, for example, for fibers, we had a long discussion before we start working in the fibers replacement to change the way Meteor runs async code. Now we are continuing this discussion inside the Mongo branch that we created to provide async behavior for MongoDB integration with Meteor. So you can also read the discussion there. So that's the way that you can help to improve the framework, and also help to improve your own workflow. So you should engage in these discussions with us. But like I already talked about about specific things, but I would like to go a little bit back and try to explain like, what's the Meteor game? Like what game we are playing? So I really love a concept that's called the infinite game. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that, because I think that connects with what I was saying. Like here is the philosophical part of this talk. So, but I still have a few like technical things to say in the end. So what is our game? Like, what is the Meteor game? First, like our cause is to provide a great platforms for developer. Like we want to build a safe environment for everybody to contribute. And I hope the community feels embraced by this mindset. I hope that you can transmit this when you reply to discussions, when you reply in the forums. We are trying to reply everything, even when people say, oh, this is really bad, or Meteor Cloud is really bad in this side. Like we are there and we are just discussing, and we are just being transparent with everybody. We are not hiding anything. We understand that sometimes we are ahead and sometimes we are behind in different areas. Like yesterday in a talk, like people were talking about Monte APM, and I said, oh, Zodern is doing a great job on Monte APM, and they have some features that are better than the features in the Galaxy APM, and that's okay. Like we understand that we are not going to be ahead everywhere. So sometimes we are ahead, sometimes we are behind, and we are just inspiring each other and try to do better, and comparing with our own version yesterday. And we don't want to like beat anyone. We just want to be a good place for people to engage and to contribute in the community. We also are able to adapt to change and improve. So we are always trying to think new ways, like our bundler, for example, our builder, our compiler, we are always trying to rethink it. Like we have done some improvements in the RAFI, but we're always thinking if that's the best approach going forward. So we want to be flexible and to be able to change when the change is necessary. And also we need to have the courage to lead when you need to make tough calls. Like the transition from like fibers to async code is going to provide some challenge, and we need to make like hard decisions. Like there is no other way around. And if you want to understand better, like what these 5 points that I'm talking here, like it's because we are playing in the infinite game. And if you want to know more about this concept, I really like this author. It's called Simon Sinek. So you can read this book. This book is really great. And what is an infinite game? Like why I'm talking about this? Because in the infinite game, we don't have like we don't know the players. We have known and unknown players. Like new players can join anytime. And what I mean here, like you can have new frameworks, and you can have like some frameworks that are not running anymore. And we are still here. Like we are almost 10 years old, and we are still growing, and we still have like a lot of clients that love us. And so like new players can join. It's not a problem. Sometimes you're going to be ahead. Sometimes you're going to be behind. Like each player has their own strategy. So we are not playing in the same way. Like some people want to grow really fast and break everything, and that's fine. And we are more like trying to grow, listening to the community, like to improve together. So that's our way. So that's okay. In the infinite game, there are no rules. Like, oh, this is correct. Like this is the way to win. Like there is no win. There is no end, like there is no beginning. So this is the concept of the infinite game. So talk about the infinite game. One thing that we are going to improve really soon to perpetuate the game, because the goal of the infinite game is to keep playing. Like the goal of the infinite game is not to win the game, because we know there are no winners in the infinite game. So we believe we can do a better job teaching Meteor and also JavaScript and Node.js, because in the end, Meteor is just a way to put a lot of nice and cool features inside the JavaScript and Node ecosystem. So what you should do to perpetuate the game? Maybe book, maybe videos, maybe posts. We are discussing a lot about this, and we decide to go forward with one idea that is called like Meteor University. So I'm also introducing here something that is going to be released the next month. It's going to be courses designed by Meteor developers to Meteor developers. So we are going to have different modules in different levels and also different formats like text and video. And the first module, as I said, is still coming this year. So I am going to show a little bit of the preview of what are the topics that we are planning to cover. But if you have ideas, feel free to send us feedback. And it's going to be like a mix of like a book with video with a lot of text content. So we can have finally like a new way to learn Meteor. Because what I see right now, a lot of people, they start with Meteor and they are really excited, but the content is so spread that they are kind of lost. Like they don't know where to proceed. So we believe like Meteor University is going to provide a step-by-step like way for people to learn more about Meteor. So here are a few topics. They are not final topics, okay? We are still discussing this, but we are thinking about like starting with Meteor, logging in accounts, mobile apps, native mobile features with Cordova, business logic and code organization. I think this is really, really important. And I think the content that I have available about this is really old. They are not talking about like main module that is present in Meteor for a few years already. So we need to update this content. Also using NPM and Atmosphere when you use one and want to use the other. Deploying, of course, because if you want to build an app, you need to deploy somewhere. Like advanced deployment strategies, like how we handle, like we have knowledge of like thousands of clients deploying with Meteor in production, making money with Meteor. So you want to transfer part of this knowledge to this course as well, like how to scale with Meteor. We just had a talk from Pathball. Like Pathball has millions of attendees. They are running with Meteor Cloud. They have thousands of containers running with us. And you should check it out, the study case about Pathball that's coming out in our blog like next week, probably. So they are scaling with Meteor and we are helping them. So you understand how to scale a Meteor app in a really, really big scale. So that's what we want to share as well. And also optimization topics. We had a talk about this, I think yesterday, and it was really cool. And so we have the same learnings and we need to put these learnings in a specific place. And again, your feedback is welcome and even your participation. Like if you're really knowledgeable about any of these topics here and you want to help us and you need to record the video for us or with us, you can contact us and you can make this work, okay? So we are looking for also contributors for this. Of course, to explain something, you need to learn, to know what is there. So we are going to filter a little bit. But the idea, like everybody's welcome. If you can study, like, oh, I'm going to study the difference between Meteor packages and NPM packages, and you are qualified to also produce content about this. And we want everybody to feel included in this program. So before I wrap up here, I still have some more news before I open to questions. The other news that I have is like the Meteor 2.5 is coming and also Mac M1 support. Now that Apple released the second batch of M1s, I think a lot of people are going to buy them. So let's talk a little bit about these two topics. First, like what is Meteor 2.5? Meteor 2.5 was released yesterday and it's probably going to be recommended like early next week, but you can already use it. We just wait a few days and you deploy it on our apps before we recommend it. But the major important part of this update is the Cordova Android integration, because without this new integration, we are not going to be able to deploy apps starting November. So if you want to update your app, deploy your app, you need to upgrade to Meteor 2.5. That's not something that we decide, like that's something that Google decided. So you need to do this. And we update the package for you, we update everything for you. You need to write more like native code to integrate with the new restrictions from Android X, but it's working. It's tested, so you should update your app. You should test your app as well because you can have some edge cases. But that was the point that I was talking before. Like, we are providing these integrations for you. So that's why we love Meteor, because you don't need to worry about like how I'm going to adapt to the new version of Android, because it's already here. It's ready for you. So you just use it. Also, we had some improvements in the hot module replacement. Before, the hot module replacement was just working for modern architectures, not for Cordova, and also not for legacy browsers. Now, hot module replacement is working for all the architectures. And also, we had a nice improvement in the way that you watch the files. I don't know if you realized that, but all the time when you make the first change, Meteor could take even to 5 seconds to identify the first change. And that's not the case anymore. Like, even the first change that we are going to make, it's going to be really fast. So this is really nice for the development workflow. We also have new ways to configure your accounts. Like, you can use the settings instead of using like code. So it's better. And that's, again, that's aligned with our view. We should have less code. So if you use more settings, maybe you could have a generator that produces a lot of settings for you and you're ready to go. But if you are using code to configure things, it's not that easy, because you need to integrate this new code with your code. So we are trying to avoid like codes to provide configurations. And of course, Meteor still prefer like standards than configuration. So when it's possible, it's already going to work without any configurations. But when you need configurations, we are preferred to have like this on settings files and not in code. We also have the new package that I already commented about it, the way to authenticate without password. And you have much more in this release. You have a lot of bug fixes and improvements. So you should check it out, the history. And also it's going to be recommended with a blog post pretty soon. So if you're new to Meteor, you don't know how to test a new release, you can use like these commands to create -- release, or you can update with -- release as well. You can do this for any version of Meteor, and it's going to be recommended pretty soon. So in a few, probably next week, if you run Meteor update without any flags, it's also going to update to 2.5. But for now, it's not recommended. So you need to use the -- release. And the last part that I think a lot of people are waiting for is the Mac M1 support. And was just finished like a few minutes ago. Like, Renault was working on this like this week, and he just sent these print screens for me like maybe 1 hour ago. I need to update the slides really fast. But the M1 support is coming, and it's already working. Like, we have a few limitations, like MongoDB is not providing like the M1 binary yet. So we are starting, as you can see here, MongoDB, but you are starting MongoDB using Rosetta, but Meteor itself is not using Rosetta anymore. If you don't care about Apple, you don't care about Mac M1, you should just ignore what I'm saying here. But if you care about Mac, you probably understand what I'm saying here. And also you can see like the app is really working. It was not just the logs that are working. And so our proof of concept is already working. We are finishing our publication scripts to include M1 in the next Meteor release. So probably if you have 2.5.1 or 2.6, M1 is going to be included. I think that was my last topic, but let's recap a little bit. So the vision for the future is try to bring back like the magic of Meteor. We still have this magic, but I think you can do better. So less code, more power. So that's what you need to have in mind when you go to the discussions, because that's what we have in mind. So we are going to talk about this a lot. We have push to deploy in beta, but you can already ask in support@meteor.com to be part of our beta program. We also have Meteor University coming really soon, probably next month, but in the worst case, it's going to be December. We have Meteor 2.5 that was out yesterday, and it's going to be recommended probably next week. We have Mac M1 support that's probably coming next week or in 2 weeks. We need to run a few more tests, but it's working. And always remember, like when you are using Meteor, Meteor is not playing a finite game. Meteor is playing an infinite game. So we are here for the long term. We are here to see what we can happen, what we can do in the next 10 years. So we are not a framework that we are going anywhere. Like, we are not like looking for crazy ways to grow really fast. Like, we just want to be a very good platform that we enjoy to use. Like, I am working for Meteor because I really believe that Meteor is the best platform to build most of the apps that I build. That's why I choose Meteor. It's not because I don't have knowledge about other platforms, because I was a Java developer. I already use most of the frameworks available for JavaScript, but I still choose Meteor to create new apps. And I'm creating new apps like every month, and I'm still choosing Meteor. So that's what you need to have in mind. Like we are playing the infinite game. Like we are not playing for like the next 2 years. We are playing for the infinite. And that changes a lot of things, how you decide, how you interact with people, and how you want to play this in the long term. And that was it. I hope you enjoy. And I'm Filipe Névola. You can follow me on Twitter. I am also in the other social medias, but probably Twitter is the most technical one. And you have, I think, 13 minutes for questions if my clock's not wrong. So I'm going to stop sharing, or I can just close the presentation. And let's see. I think I have a question. Okay, I was saying that I couldn't hear you fine. I will try to scroll up a little bit, but you can help me if I skip a question. I think he has said, okay, I think I'm in the first message. Like he has said that you can also use accounts UI unstyled, and that's true. I forgot to include in the slide, but you also upgraded with accounts passwordless authentication, so it's cool. Derek is saying that text and not SMS. I think it's a joke about that way that we call messages in Portuguese. Found my better account. I have no idea what Kevin's talking about. You got a lot of JS framework that's here for 10 years. They usually last months. Rena is just saying a lot, another joke about the frameworks. Let's see. I'm trying to catch up, but I'm going to get there. The link for GitHub discussions, Rena already posted. Yeah, is asking if I have an affiliate link to buy Infinite Game. I can provide you, but I don't have one in hand right now. But Infinite Game is really a nice book, especially if you're building a company. You should think about this topic. Sounds like fun. I'd like to look at running something on that. I don't know what Kevin's saying, but maybe it was when I was talking about Meteor push to deploy. Great news. I'm trying to skip to the questions. Okay, any plans to connect Bitbucket for deploy? Any plans for deploy scheduling? I think deploy scheduling, I have never thought about that, but it would be simple to do because you could have like a timestamp where you try to see if you have new jobs there. So feel free to open a ticket about this because I think that could be a nice use case. I'm thinking why you want to schedule a deploy, because it's kind of risky because if you are sleeping and your deploy is happening, but maybe, I don't know, you need to discuss like this use case. But as Meteor Galaxy also have auto recovery, so if your deploy is failing, it's going to use the latest version. So I don't think it's a big problem. And when you go to the deploy command to connect to GitHub, you have below a link for you to ask different providers. So if you want to ask a different provider like Bitbucket, as you are asking here, you can, sorry. It's because I want to watch the next talk from Zodern about scaling Meteor with Meteor App. That was why it was ringing. So there below the connect to GitHub button, you can say, oh, I'm using Bitbucket, I'm using GitLab. So we are going to see what is the most popular one, and you want to provide the integration for them as well. Yeah, is asking if you have any special plans towards the 10th anniversary, and not yet, but you should plan something. I was like to impact account, it's not important. I would love to look at running something on that. Okay, Kevin was talking about the university program. It would be nice, really nice to have Kevin explaining React and crazy hooks. Faisal is asking, is there any plans for React Native specific, but native level SDK for Meteor? The JS-based Meteor lib feels sluggish or they have out of box? Have you received this type of feedback from others? I'm not sure. Like I know a few people that are developing like native apps with React Native, and they are happy. And the libs that feel sluggish, I think you're maybe referring to, I don't know what library you are referring to, but you can open a discussion about this, like how can we make the React Native integration better? But I know at least like 3 companies that are using it and they are really happy. But I don't know, like 3 companies, not a lot. But I know like people that are really talking video calls and they are really happy about this integration. But you should discuss more and feel free to open a discussion, Faisal. will be there revenue opportunities with Meteor University? Yeah, we have a few models in our mind that people could make money helping us to build Meteor University. So we are not asking just help for free. Of course, if you want to help for free, that's fine as well. But we have some partnerships that we are planning to do in Meteor University. So you can make some money teaching Meteor. Okay, we still have 8 minutes. I'm going to keep reading questions. Related to Foisal, so it's related to React Native. How do you feel about Meteor support for React Native in Meteor? Like I'm not a React Native user, so I just am repeating what I listen to from other people's. But for React, I think it's pretty good. Like we have, I think everything that you do in any reactive environment you can do with Meteor. But React Native, people say it's really good, like it's working really well, but I don't have production apps with React Native, so it's hard for me to say. Okay, still have 80 minutes. React is completely supported, and I have plans to better support React, lazy, and suspense with SSR in the future. I think that's one part that maybe we don't have a very good support is for SSR. It's not because Meteor doesn't support SSR, because SSR is just like rendering HTML in the server, and Meteor supports that. In my last talk, I also showed how I use it. But if you want to use like the data layer of Meteor inside SSR, maybe you have a few problems. So you should maybe you can provide better ways, like how a subscription should work in a server render side. Like these ideas are not clear in my mind, but maybe you can come up with solutions about this. Okay, and Faisal said that the library that's kind of sluggish is Meteor React Native Core. I don't think I know this library. So, and I know there are 2 integrations that people are using it. I think Nathaniel is using one integration, and I think the Copley, the guy who creates the Slack, I think he's using another integration. So maybe you have the documents about it, but maybe you should improve this as well. Okay, yeah, has a question. What's the next big feature after Fibers migration that you think Meteor will have to tackle? Like we are not, like our main challenge for the next months is going to be to replace the way Meteor run async code. We still have time, like this is going to be compatible with Node until April 2023, but we want to be ahead of this time, of course, and provide a nice way. But I don't know what would be the next big one after that. But we want to resume the work in tree shaking. I don't know if everybody's aware, but we have a discussion about tree shaking as well. But tree shaking was really close to be finished, but the performance was not very good. But now with the latest optimizations that Zodern made on the Ray5 compiler, we don't need tree shaking development. So we can enable tree shaking just for the final build in production. So tree shaking work is close to the end. So we should resume this work soon. Like we don't know exactly where because we have a few priorities, but we should resume the tree shaking work really soon. And I think tree shaking is something that people really want to have in Meteor. Yes, Aline asked if you are going to have certifications for Meteor University. And yes, we are going to have certificates. We are checking a platform that already provides certificates and everything. And we are probably going forward with this platform. So yes, we are going to have certificates. You mentioned some time ago about the possibility of integration Meteor to capacitor instead of Cordova. Yeah, that's another good option that we have. Like, I don't know if everybody's aware, but the Ionic team creates like a replacement for Cordova that's called capacitor. And they have like better integration and better, a lot of better features than Cordova. And they are investing a lot of money on this, I believe, because I receive a lot of like updates from them, like almost every month. So that would be nice. And I don't think it's going to be really, really hard. Of course, Meteor does everything for you with Cordova. So Meteor like integrates like how to create the app, how to update the app, like how to do hot code push. But I think like the runtime part of capacitor is compatible with Cordova. So even our custom plugins we could use with Cordova. But maybe the Meteor tools, if you go to the Meteor repo, you have a tools folder and you have a Cordova folder there, and you have a lot of things in this folder. And they are like the way that Meteor can add plugins, remove platforms, add platforms. So maybe in Cordova, this would be a little bit different. So I think that's the challenge. I don't know if they have all the packs that Cordova has to manipulate the config JSON in a nice way using JavaScript. Kevin is highlight like Zodern, and also I want to double on that. Like Zodern is really great. We have like a sponsorship deal with Zodern, so he can dedicate time to help us. And Zodern is really, really great. Blaze will support in the future. Yeah, Blaze is still supported. I don't know if you are following like Blaze repo, but we have like Blaze releases like all the time when you need it. Of course, Blaze is already like 10 years old, so you don't need to add a lot of features to Blaze at this point. But all the time that you have problems or even like hot module replacement, we spend a lot of time supporting Blaze in hot module replacement. So Blaze has a nice support as well. So we are always thinking about Blaze, and you don't have any plans to deprecate Blaze. I know this question comes up like all the time. I don't know why people still ask this question, but you don't have any plans to deprecate Blaze. Blaze works really well. There are a lot of people that are really happy about Blaze. And we still have like many, I think 30% in the last survey, they are still using Blaze. And people are starting new projects with Blaze because they think Blaze is really good. So we don't have any reason to deprecate for now. And I don't think we're going to have in the future. I know it was mentioned before, will there be any updates to Iron Router? Yeah, I think like most of the people, including myself, we migrated from Iron Router a long time ago, and we are using Flow Router. But I know a few people that are using user accounts Iron routing. They are having problems with the latest updates because of jQuery. So we have a way for you to submit a compatibility request. So if you submit the compatibility request and we have like a few people that are supporting it, we can create like this compatibility version, because I don't think it's that hard. I think jQuery is going to work probably in the same way. So we just need to update jQuery in the dependencies there. So if you have a package that is not working, yeah, I'm going to provide my slides later, but there is an announcement in the forum, and you should open the request in GitHub discussion so you can support these new packages. Faisal is asking, when Meteor University is coming alive, for people who would like to host classes there, what will be the process? Contact your Meteor team, or will be there a host-facing app for registering in creating course? No, we're not planning to have like a very easy way for you to say, I want to be a host, but you can just email us. You can email us at marketing@meteor.com or support@meteor.com. But I think marketing is a better email in this case. And you can please include like what are the topics that you want to talk about, so you can create partnerships together on this work. And I think it's going to be really cool to have like multiple people, because we teach things in different ways. I usually teach things in a very specific practical way, and a few people like teach more like in a theoretical way, and learners, they have different styles. So I think it would be nice to have a good mix. Of course, you need to have like a good organization to be like to have a sequence in the content, but I think we already have that. We are already creating some scripts, so it's going to be really nice to have more people like Faisal, Kevin, Fred, and everybody that's engaged here. Okay, I'm going to wrap up here because I don't want to cause problems for Zodern presentation about Meteor App. So see you guys later. And if you have other questions, reach me on Slack, Twitter, or email, Filipe@meteor.com. So I'm always here to talk to you. Thank you, guys. See you go to the hackathon ceremony. It's going to be 1 hour from now. It's going to be really great. Thank you. Bye-bye.